The messages started 3 years ago and they never stopped. At first they were subtle, little comments on my Instagram posts that felt oddly personal, knowing details about my life that only close friends would know. But then they escalated. Hundreds of messages, violent threats, detailed descriptions of where I lived, what I wore, who I was talking to. Someone had been watching me, documenting my life, and I had no idea who they were. I reported the accounts. I blocked them. I changed my privacy settings, went offline for weeks, tried everything to make it stop. But the stalker was persistent, adaptive, and relentless. They'd create new accounts using different names, different platforms. They seemed to anticipate my every move. The fear became suffocating, a constant weight on my chest that never lifted, even when I was surrounded by people I loved. I remember the night I called my best friend Sarah, sobbing, telling her about the latest message. He'd described what I was wearing to the grocery store that morning. He'd sent a photo of my car parked outside my office building. I was terrified he was going to show up at my door. She came over immediately, stayed with me, held my hand while I filed a police report for the 100th time. She was my anchor in the chaos, the one person I trusted completely. What I didn't know was that the anchor had been holding the chain all along. It happened by accident. I was sitting at Sarah's kitchen table one afternoon, and her husband Marcus walked in carrying his laptop. He set it down for just a moment while he grabbed a drink, and when he stepped away, I glanced at the screen. I wasn't snooping. I swear I wasn't looking for anything. But there it was, frozen on the monitor, a Twitter account I recognized. My stalker's account. Open in a browser tab, logged in under a name I'd never seen before, but with a profile photo I'd never been able to catch. Pixelated, dark, anonymous. My heart stopped. I stared at that screen like it was going to disappear if I blinked. My hands started shaking. I felt like I was hallucinating, like my mind was playing a cruel trick on me. But the evidence was right there, undeniable, staring me in the face. Marcus, my best friend's husband, the man I'd known for 5 years, the man who'd listened to me cry about my stalker, who'd comforted me, who'd offered to install a security system in my apartment. He was the stalker. Before we continue, we would like to thank all of you who support us by subscribing, liking, and sharing our content. The only appreciation we ask of you is that you subscribe, like, and share this video if you are not yet one of our subscribers. Thank you. I heard him coming back down the stairs and I forced myself to look away. I sat there pretending to sip my coffee, my mind reeling. How long? How long had he been doing this, and why? What did I ever do to him? I was hyper-aware of every sound, every movement. When he walked past me, I felt my skin crawl. I waited until I got home to confirm it. I logged into the account, easy, because I'd been hacking it for information for months. And I went through the message history, years of stalking. Detailed logs of where I went, who I met, what I wore. Screenshots of my selfies with commentary that made my stomach turn. And dates. The earliest message was from before I'd even met Sarah. Before he and Sarah were married. Before I had any idea he existed. I called the police. I printed everything. Created a file thick with evidence, and I went to the station and handed it all over. The detective assigned to my case was shocked. "You know this person?" she asked, reviewing the information. "My best friend's husband," I whispered, and even saying it out loud felt like a betrayal of something sacred. The arrest happened the next day. Marcus was taken into custody on charges of cyberstalking, harassment, and making terroristic threats. But the real devastation came after, when I had to tell Sarah. I remember standing at her door, my hand trembling as I knocked. She answered with that warm smile she always gave me, completely unaware that her entire world was about to collapse. "Hey, I was just thinking about you," she said, ushering me inside. The irony was cruel. I told her everything. I watched her face go through every stage of shock and denial imaginable. At first, she didn't believe me. Then she demanded to see the evidence. And finally, as the reality sank in, she broke down. But her breakdown wasn't just about discovering her husband's crimes. It was about the realization that he'd violated me, that he'd violated our friendship, that he'd woven lies through every moment of our relationship. She asked me why him, why her husband, why me. I didn't have answers. I still don't. Marcus gave some rambling explanation about rejection, about how he'd seen a photo of me on Sarah's Instagram before they were even dating, had become obsessed, and couldn't let it go even after he married her. The psychology of it was twisted, dark, incomprehensible. Before we continue, We would like to thank all of you who support us by subscribing, liking, and sharing our content. The only appreciation we ask of you is that you subscribe, like, and share this video if you are not yet one of our subscribers. Thank you. The trial was brutal. I had to sit in a courtroom and recount the terror he'd inflicted on me, all while knowing that my best friend's life was being destroyed by the same man. She sat 2 rows behind me, and I could feel her presence like a weight. He was sentenced to 3 years in prison plus a restraining order. Justice, technically, but it didn't feel like justice. It felt hollow. Sarah and I didn't talk for months after the trial. I think she needed time to process, to grieve the life she thought she had, the husband she thought she knew, and I needed time to heal from the violation, to feel safe again in my own life. But eventually, we started texting. Small things at first, then longer conversations. We met for coffee one afternoon, and I saw in her eyes the same pain and confusion I was carrying. "I'm so sorry," she kept saying, tears streaming down her face. "I'm so sorry for what he did to you." "You didn't do anything," I told her. "He did. This isn't on you." But we both knew it wasn't that simple. The friendship was changed, fractured, not quite shattered, but fundamentally altered. We couldn't go back to what we were before. The betrayal was too deep, too personal, too intertwined with all the moments we'd shared. What surprised me most in the aftermath was my own strength. I'd spent 3 years feeling like a victim, living in fear, questioning my own safety. But sitting across from Sarah in that coffee shop, I realized I'd survived. The stalking hadn't broken me, his obsession hadn't consumed me, and the betrayal, while devastating, had forced me to recognize something crucial. I deserved friends who protected me, not friends married to men who hunted me. Sarah struggled with her own journey of healing. She went to therapy to process the betrayal, she filed for divorce, and slowly, she built a new life. Our friendship evolved into something different, less casual, more intentional. We talk about what happened, about trust, about the darkness that can hide behind familiar faces. Sometimes the hardest goodbyes are the ones we whisper to the person we thought someone was. For Sarah, that was her husband. For me, it was my sense of safety, and the naive belief that the people closest to me would always have my back. But I learned something profound in the wreckage. Resilience isn't about never being broken. It's about how you rebuild yourself afterward. I took back my privacy, I reclaimed my online spaces. I learned to recognize predatory behavior, to trust my instincts, to speak up when something feels wrong. I became an advocate for other stalking victims, sharing my story, helping them navigate the system, reminding them that they're not alone and they're not crazy. If you're being stalked, harassed, or violated online, please know this: it's not your fault. You didn't invite it. You didn't deserve it. And the person doing it is counting on your silence, on your shame, on your isolation. Don't give them that power. Document everything. Report it. Tell someone you trust. And remember that healing is possible, even when the betrayal comes from the most unexpected places.